Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. Our guest today is Erwin Wils. We're going to talk about the subconscious mind, your subconscious mind, and your success. I am super enthusiastic about having this conversation, near and dear to my heart. Welcome to the show, Erwin.
Yeah, thanks, Alicia. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to a conversation.
Fellow hypnotherapist. I've said it before. Every time I get a hypnotherapist on, I get a little giddy, a little excited. Obviously, I always get excited about my mindset experts that come on too. But as a hypnotherapist, it's like you're rooting for your home team.
Yeah.
So I want to start by talking a little bit about what you do in your business and how you're using tools like hypnosis to help your clients get out of their own way and achieve more success in their business.
Yeah, well, I started out almost like 9 years ago with my first hypnotherapy training. And I've been a hypnotherapist for 2 years. And I saw a lot of unused potential with my clients. So unfortunately, they didn't come to me to unleash that unused potential. They just came to me to get rid of a mental challenge. So I decided to refocus towards coaching. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So I love coaching entrepreneurs, especially the introverted entrepreneurs, because if you look from the outside, the entrepreneurial world seems to be for extroverted persons, right? You need to show yourself, you need to be seen, to be known. And introverts sometimes have the feeling that they need to act differently, and you might get this imposter syndrome or other limitations they put on themselves. And I love to just work on the mindset, work on the business to get rid of all those limitations they've put on themselves.
I like how you say limitations that we put on ourselves. There's that tendency to always blame and shame. And we know that our conditioning comes from our parents and society. And there's that wanting to sort of give our power away and say, well, that's just the way that I am. That's just the way that it is. Oh, I've tried. I've gone to the seminars, I've read the books, I've done this stuff, and none of those things work for me. This is just the way that I am. Self-imposed limitations doesn't necessarily mean that it's an easy fix, but it does require that we take personal responsibility because they're not going to go away on their own. I'd love to talk about this from your perspective and what you see with your clients and where they are getting in their own way.
Yeah, well, one of the things that a lot of my clients think is they can't sell because they all got those stereotypes of salespersons, right? Like the sleazy car salesman or the door-to-door salesman or the telcel ads from back in the days, right? It's an amazing discovery and oh, wait, but there's more. So those are all those stereotypes they have of a salesperson. But in my opinion, the best salespersons are children and friends and family. Any idea why I say that?
I can think of a few
Yeah.
examples.
Do you have children yourself,
I
Alicia?
sure do. And I tell you what, my daughter, especially, who's 5, she is a damn good salesperson.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'll bet that when your daughter comes to you and says to you, "Mommy, I want a candy," and you say, "Not now, dear. We're going to have dinner in 30 minutes." Right? That you just would turn around and say, "Okay, well, I'll go play again." Right? She probably didn't do that. She might have felt that, I guess mommy didn't understand my question, so she just repeats it. Or she has those great Bambi eyes, or they start nagging or being super polite. She does everything to get at candy, right? And if she doesn't succeed with you, she probably goes to your spouse. And if your parents are in the house, they skip you both because the grandparents always give a candy, right? So they'll do anything to get what they want. And that's a very good sales habit, right? And I didn't study biology, but as far as my knowledge goes, everybody has ever been a child, right? So that's that process that's already into your system, but you just forget about it. Um, any idea why I say friends and family?
From my perspective, it's almost like a sense of maybe obligation for some people, or you care, right? You want to help them out, you want to do them a favor. There's all of these.
Especially the latter one. Yeah. You know, let's assume that I've been to a restaurant. It's fairly new and the experience just amazing, right? The food was terrific. The waitress was super polite, right? Right after the main course, the chef would come to our table and ask us if he could prepare a special dessert for us based on our previous choices. And it was just wow. And I would meet you a few days later, and I know you like good eating as well. And would say, "Oh, Alicia, I've been to this place. If you ever have the opportunity, you have to go there, right? You won't be disappointed. It's amazing, right?" So at that very moment, I'm selling the restaurant to you, right? But I'm not getting a free meal. I'm not getting paid for it. The only thing I want is for you to have a similar experience as I had, right? If everybody has suggested something to a friend or family, right? Because they just want to have them to have the same experience. And now the key is that you feel the same for your product or your service. You know, it's not about selling, it's you want them to have the same experience as you had, or that you know that you can help them with it. And then it's just helping, it's not selling anymore.
I remember, and I tell this story every once in a while. I remember when I first got my certification as a hypnotherapist, and I just wanted to help. I just wanted to help people because it was such a transformational tool for me. And I recall offering my services for free to certain individuals who said they wanted help. But then when I offered the service for free, they never took me up on it. And I was dumbfounded, dumbfounded. Like, this can help you. This will help you. And they didn't do it. Now, I learned why later. It was a very valuable lesson for me that not everybody really actually wants to change. They say they want to change. Maybe they just love the sympathy, they love the drama of it. They don't actually truly want to change. So I want to segue a little bit and I want to talk a bit about this crazy phenomenon because I think all of us have this to varying degrees. As an entrepreneur who is listening to this conversation, who's been struggling with self-imposed limitations, disempowering beliefs, disempowering habits, not believing in themselves, not believing in their full potential, they say they want to change. But if something's not changing, is it possible that maybe they don't really want to change? And if that is the case, how do you address that so that you can sort of wake them up from their crazy insanity and actually transform their life?
Yeah, I like to say that there's a very reasonable explanation for that. You know, I always say that our subconscious mind wants to protect us, keep us safe, and take care of us, right? And the most easiest way to achieve that is to keep a person in the comfort zone, right? Because everything within your comfort zone is more or less known, it's predictable, right? And the subconscious mind likes predictability, right? Once it has executed certain behavior and it knows the result fairly good, then it will repeat that behavior. And when you want to grow, when you want to explore new territories, you're getting out of your comfort zone. You start to do something new, right? And that's you might get some struggle from your subconscious mind because it says, I don't know what's out there. I want to protect you. So I'll give you some hesitations. I'll bring in some doubt because only in your comfort zone I can take care of you. So unless the why is big enough, you know, the purpose is big enough, people tend to stay in their own comfort zone.
You mentioned that you work with a lot of introverted business people. I don't remember what the statistic was. When I first started this podcast, I had an expert come on who is an expert in introverts. And she gave a statistic. It was really interesting because I think it was actually more than 50% of the population consider themselves introverts. There's obviously a lot of different reasons for that. Sometimes a lot of it has to do with conditioning, and obviously a lot of it has to do with our sort of disposition and our personality. That creates a very limited comfort zone, a very small circle for us to play in. And as business people who want to grow, we want to expand, we feel drawn to growing our business. We feel called to do bigger and better things in this world. We want more abundance and prosperity because we know that it's good for ourselves and our family, and that when we're doing our good work in the world, we can help more people. But that comfort zone will keep a lot of people playing small. So let's speak on that, because I know there's going to be a percentage of the population who is that real type A personality. They're the real go-getter. They're really outgoing. They're like, what is all this negative talk about used car salesmen, right? Because they fit that bill and they're comfortable with it and they like themselves. And that's great. So don't get discouraged if you're that person. We'll come back to you too. But I want to talk to the rest of us who are perhaps a little bit more reserved, a little bit more comfortable not being seen, not being heard, not standing out, not receiving the ridicule, the judgment, the whatever. How does somebody go about growing themselves and their business when that seems like a real issue for them?
Well, I always say, but I don't need to explain that to you, Alicia. It's all about mindset, right? When I just started out, I also thought, that's not for me. I can't do that, stuff like that. And by simply adding the word yet to it, it already changed my mind. I can't do that yet. I'm not at that level yet. And by only adding the word yet to it in my normal way of living and thinking, it already opened opportunities for me, because unconsciously I start thinking, how can I achieve it? Right? I'm not at the level yet, but how can I get there? So subconsciously I already started looking for opportunities instead of problems. And such small, tiny changes can make a very big difference at the end.
So right there, powerful takeaway that people can start implementing literally immediately. So that does take a little bit of mindfulness, correct? You have to
Yeah.
notice what you're doing, which in large part is unconscious because it is such a subconscious default within us. But as we start to recognize those patterns that we're doing that to ourselves, that we're saying that limiting belief out loud or in our mind, now we can use this tool, I'll call it, to start to reframe how we look at things, to change the mindset, to open up to the possibility, to get the subconscious mind a little bit more on board with the possibility or even the probability that we will get to that next level.
Yeah. And it reminds me of a quote that I read 1 or 2 years ago. It's a belief is a thought you continue to think. And that's a great definition. And that's true, right? But everything starts with just a thought. And the issue with beliefs is, or actually with those thoughts, is it gives you blinders, right? If you're certain commitment to yourself, you think I am introvert, you will find proof of that because it gives you blinders. And every proof you're finding will strengthen that belief again. And before you know it, it's like what you said, I'm just like that, right? So if you just start with a new thought, by what I just shared, adding the word yet to it, and you start repeating it to yourself, you're building actually a new belief.
I love it. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk to you as the entrepreneur, you as the business owner. You are an expert at what you do. You help other people in this area. Oftentimes we become experts because we've overcome a lot of our own crap. So, are you willing to share with us perhaps one or a couple of your own mindset challenges in business that you had to work through, overcome in order to get to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm an introvert by nature myself. So I didn't like networking. I thought I couldn't sell. And I invested a lot of money in coaches, in trainings, because I thought, this is my blind spot and I need to work on that. So it wasn't until I changed my own mindset about, selling for me, it means advising the other person to make the right decision so that a win-win situation starts to happen and both parties have a great feeling about it. So by just changing the definition for myself, it became much easier to sell because you're helping the other person to make the right decision. So I'm not, but in order to do that, you have to have options, right? You have to have alternative. Otherwise, you can't advise the client. If you only have one choice, it's take it or leave it. But that's not advice, right? That's selling. But if you give the client options, and you can advise which option best suits their situation, you're actually helping them. And that was one of the mindset shifts that I made. And with regard to networking, especially at the beginning, you want to have you want business, you want to have clients, but nobody goes to a network meeting to spend their money, right? So it feels like you hesitate to approach a person, might he be a client, whatever. And I just changed my mind into when I go to a network meeting or business event or a seminar or whatever, I just want to have like 2, 3 great conversations with interesting or inspiring persons. And if I can help them in any way by giving them a tip or an insight or connecting them with somebody in my network, it's a great experience for me. So that takes away the pressure of selling or finding clients or whatever. It's just enjoying yourself, having wonderful conversations like we're having right now. And that makes networking quite easy.
I think that is a fantastic tip right there. I don't think I've ever heard anybody share a tip quite like that on networking. So we hear a lot of that with sales, right? Sales is to be of service. And for some people, they can adopt that right away. It's like, oh, what a sigh of relief. I don't have to push something on someone, right? Just like in the example of my daughter, that can get a little daunting to be nagged at. We've gotten pretty good at negotiating. I mean, she is a power negotiator at 5 years old, right? uh, in any case, we don't want to be the one to wear someone down to get our way. But when we take that other approach, when we look at it different, when we have a different point of view about it, it makes it a much more positive experience, a much more positive interaction. For networking, it's so funny that you said that because I mean, a lot of people do not want to go to a networking event, especially introverts, right?
Yeah.
Like, like as soon as somebody looks at you, you're like, oh shit, they're coming to try to sell me their thing. Right? Now I have to do that awkward, small talk thing that I'm really not good at.
Yeah.
Uh, but that mindset shift really does sort of set us free from that feeling of, oh, I have to do this thing that I don't want to do. I have to be this way that I don't want to be. I have to do something to someone that they don't want done to them. And our energy changes. We become so much more approachable, so much more relatable, certainly much more likable. Uh,
Yeah.
so I love what you shared there.
Yeah. And I must say that one of the things that I also share in my sales training with my coaching, everything, and it might even be the most important one that entrepreneurs should know. And it's an acronym because I always say that people listen to the favorite radio station, WIIFM, which is actually short for what's in it for me, right? And it's valid for every interaction you have, even and having truly understanding what it means, that as an entrepreneur, as an introvert, the moment you tune into their radio station, so what's in it for them, then the focus is not on you. The focus is on them. How can I help you? How can I help them? How can it be of service for them? How can it be of value for them? How can it benefit from our interaction? It makes it much easier to do business, to do presentations, to sell, because the focus is not on you. The focus in how can they benefit from it.
So good. This is a perfect opportunity for me to ask how our listeners can connect with you. Right there, they may be saying, okay, that's exactly what I need. So can you share your website, social media handles, anywhere that you want to direct people to?
Sure. People can follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for the name Erwin Wils and you will find me. Of course, I can go to my website, powermind.coach. And I've written several interviews for Authority magazine, so they can find me on that as well. The latest one was actually on Introvert, so might be interesting.
How fitting. I want to thank you so much, Erwin, for being with us today. This has been a great conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you for the invitation, Alice.
And thank you to all of our listeners. We're doing this for you. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.